Welcome everybody to another episode of the Believers Club. I'm Harj.
I'm Serena.
And today we're talking about an episode that is a little bit more serious. What's happening in our world right now pertaining to the Punjab protests. We felt like it was something we needed to speak about because it's reflective of our culture, of where our families come from.
We're two Punjabi girls.
Punjabi girls. That's been our thing, right? From the beginning, Serena and I have always been like, well, we're two South Asian Punjabi girls trying to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
And not only trying to break a lot of cycles, but also trying to really represent people of our community, women, South Asian girls, all of that. And so if that's the case and we want to build this podcast off of that, we also have to address when our people that we come from are experiencing injustice. This is a hard topic to talk about because this is part of our lineage. And even if it wasn't, it's an injustice, a huge one that's happening that not enough people, I'm surprised, are actually being vocal about it. There are a lot of things happening on social media, but I'm quite taken aback by how much people with a bigger platform, celebrities, Bollywood actors and actresses, who have played the role of a Punjabi in their movies, who have gone to Punjab to film, and they haven't said anything.
To give any of you guys a little background as to what Punjab is, it's a state in India, and it pretty much holds the largest population of Sikh people. They come from the religion Sikhism, and you definitely should Google that and learn about Sikhi, because that's a very interesting religion, which I regularly have to educate myself on and where I come from. And what's happening is that the Indian government has been trying to fuck over Punjab majority of the decades.
Beginning time, man.
Centuries. And what they've done now is pretty much pass 3 bills in September that, in a nutshell, pretty much stop the farmers from having control over the pricing of what they sell and who's gonna buy it. And eventually the corporations will actually control how much they buy for how much, which limits what the farmers can do with their own land. And if you talk to any Punjabi from Punjab or here, Canada, or anywhere in the world, you'll know that Punjab it drives off of land. Farming is its number one production.
It's like agriculture is our pride.
That's what.
Our pride.
Yes.
You know, in Bhangra dance, most of the moves in Bhangra dance are actually based off of agriculture, right? It's based off of the harvest season, right? Celebrating the harvest season, and a lot of the moves actually come from the way that the farmers would appreciate what's happening, and it's so crazy because a lot of us don't know that, and we appreciate so much of Punjabi culture without realizing where it's actually stemming from and why this is such a big deal. Right? And like Serena said, it's a huge injustice to our people, and we have some notes here because we want to make sure that we get everything right.
And again, even we are learning every day. We don't want to be, we're not going to come across that we are so filled with all the knowledge. We're going to give you what we've learned and what research we've done. We've actually spent the last week just really getting to know what's truly happening and actually seeing it play out, because it's now been over a week, and it's the largest protest in the world ever in the history.
And the largest protest in the world that's been a peaceful protest.
There you go. That's a big one.
We haven't heard of any protest, and there has been multiple protests happening on same days in different big cities around North America, the world, Auckland, Sydney, New Zealand, and you haven't heard of any looting, any open fires, none of that kind of stuff, because we understand as a people, the biggest thing for us is we want to get our message across, because for so long, Punjab has been silenced. silenced and silenced. And coming from, like Serena said, the religion that most Punjabis, and I say most Punjabis because there are Hindu Punjabis, Muslim Punjabis, but the Sikhi religion itself is a peaceful religion. So although, I mean, if you go back in history, when Sikhs fought wars, right, they also did seva. Seva is a really big part of our being, and agriculture, being able to provide food, is a huge part of that. And you're stripping away our fundamental belief in being able to feed people, and it's so
it's much deeper than just what you see on the top surface. It's not just someone's just upping your controlling how much you're gonna sell. It's much deeper, and
we're passionate people.
Right? And even the effect of it's not just the top layer. It's beyond just being able to feed the world. It's land comes with a lot more than that. It is your pride, it is your joy, it is your family, it is your livelihood. And the government's just trying to fuck with people's livelihood, and they've always tried to shut them up. And I feel like you clearly are starting to hear the roar now.
100%. So the Indian government passed 3 bills, to be able to limit the amount of sales that these farmers can make. Now the problem, and I have some notes here, the problem with the bills that have been passed is that there used to be a minimum sale price, which is the MSP. You might see that word being, the acronym being tossed around, and that stands for minimum sale price for crops. However, with the new bill, right, they're actually giving private corporations all of the control of that, of how that is being priced. Right. And the farmers aren't actually able to be protected with the MSP. Instead, they're actually left to what the big corporations are going to be able to what the corporations are going to limit for them. Right. So the MSP protected them, saying that they're not going to, there's a minimum that they're going to sell this for. Right. So meaning that it's at least enough for them to be able to get by.
And I'll give you a quick example that I just had, like a little breakdown if you want an easier digestible version. Imagine a Walmart, a giant, and a small business trying to sell the products. And now the government has given Walmart the control as to how much they're going to buy at what price. Before the government before the small business had their own leeway and the freedom to have some way to make some money. And now Walmart, knowing Walmart, because they're giants, corporations, they have a lot of money. And pretty much you're taking from someone who obviously there's a lot of huge ones, but there's the farmers that are out right now and that are truly affected are the ones that have such small land, and that's their livelihood. It's not acres and acres. And this is literally what they live and die for and work all year towards.
And
different harvest, rice and wheat, different harvest times.
They feed their families off this, and this is actually their income. So at least with the MSP, they were protected by getting at least a minimum wage almost, right? It couldn't go lower than that. But now with these big corporations coming in, they don't have a say. They're not protected by any means. The large corporations can sell for way lower than that, and the farmers can't do anything but to accept pennies
because they have to sell. They can't sit on the crop either. They have to get rid of it.
That's going to leave them in poverty. And what boggles my mind is that the Indian government is aware that there's already a suicide problem in Punjab. There's already a drug problem, an addictions problem in Punjab.
Decades,
right? And so instead of actually going into this state that feeds the rest of the country and try to help them out of that crisis, they're actually making the situation even worse. And a lot of people are saying that it's in an attempt to actually erase the people from that part of the country. what better way to do it than to actually put in a big corporation that's going to stop these people from living and thriving? They say every 30 minutes, a farmer in India a farmer in Punjab commits suicide because there's so many farming debts that they are actually under already without these bills being passed. So you would think that as a government that they would go in and see that there's a problem and try to actually fix it and bring them out of it. But that's not the way that the Indian government is actually operating. The other one is the Essential Commodities Act, right? And that bill actually removes oils, onions, potatoes, a whole bunch of list of essentials that these farmers get their income made out of, right? So that means that now these certain items are deregulated. Okay, so that takes a lot out of their production and out of their income. And so basically it means to it basically means it's going to create a competitive market.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's going to give the farmers less control over their land.
Basically none. And if there's a competitive market over these items, then big corporations are obviously going to go for the price that they want. And the farmers have they pretty much own the farmers, right? And there's so much to talk about because I feel like this is a deeper issue than what's happening. I think this is a historical issue between the Indian government and Punjab.
And just to clarify, we did want to mention that we're talking about Punjab, but this is happening to a few different states around there.
Yes.
Haryana. So we want to make sure that we don't downplay. We're just putting an emphasis on Punjab, but it's a few different states that literally feed the rest of the country and a lot of us, even here and everywhere else around the world.
If you've ever bought basmati rice, if you've ever had, I think there's a certain brand of Indian chai tea.
Different flowers, and you won't even know. Just literally start reading the back of your bags now and see how much shit comes food-wise comes from India. You'd be surprised.
A lot of my Caucasian friends go to Indian markets here locally in Vancouver, and they purchase things that most likely come from Punjab, right? Like our flour, like Serena was saying, and our rice, our grains, all those things to make India spices. Even
spices,
right?
One.
That's a huge
turmeric,
one.
Turmeric's huge right now.
It's been westernized. Like turmeric is a huge thing that we use for our health. And
no, for sure, but it's so much devastation that's happening, and I'm just this year I keep thinking this year has brought the world together in a way that we never would have imagined in our lives that would happen. And it wouldn't be right to stand up as much as you can whenever something is going wrong anywhere in the world, not just Punjab, anywhere. India, there's so much other shit that was happening even in the summer. Just educate yourself and know what's happening, and know that it's not just in India. These things will affect other people too. There's a reason people are out on the streets here in Canada, in the States, because
protesting.
At the end of the day, people can relate to, if you're a farmer anywhere, if you own land, there's no way you're not going to feel some type of way, because you can connect to the pain of what it goes into farming. Yes, there's always a downside. There's always another story to that. There's so many land issues that also happen in Punjab. But what we're fighting right now or talking about right now is related to the injustice. That the government's going to try pushing as much as it can, but clearly the world is with them. We're going to be with you guys. We're right here. I'm like we said, we're two Punjabi girls. This is all we know. All we know is that's all we've learned. I've lived in India. Like, I've seen farmers. I've seen the struggle. I've seen rich farmers. I've seen poor farmers. And I've seen the struggle of literally having wheat come to your house and the happiness that you get from it. And so I know this literally feeds daily certain families, and the struggle is just, it's it's a lot of struggle, but I feel like you said, it's the biggest protest in the world, and that's the least we could do, is come together in a time where you just understand that there's injustice happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's clear that it's injustice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because any time that a big corporation is feeding off of people that are barely making it, that's never okay. And there's a lot of people who, you see these posts being made about educating people on what's happening in Punjab. And I don't know if you've noticed this, Serena, but I've certainly noticed people in comment sections that are saying very ignorant things, such as, this is a problem that's happening in India. Why is this such a big deal in Canada? Why are you clogging up our streets and causing traffic? Like, you guys need to just be quiet, and da 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 da, and all this. And it's like, whoa, if this was happening in Canada, the whole world would be together, and nobody would say, stop standing up for us out there. It's, you know what I mean? Like, it just happens. I just feel like when something happens in another part of the world, let's say like the eastern part of the world, why is it that a lot of people in North America, certain groups of people, think that it's annoying and that it's wrong, when we could literally, Americans could say the same thing to us every single time something goes down with their president? Why are those same people so involved with their politics, right? Americans could easily say,
Yeah,
don't get involved. Why are you so...
Now, why do we care if it was Trump or Biden? You know what I mean? We're Canadians. We have nothing to, but at the end of the day, we're a world. We're a collective. So there's no way, if you're a human, if you have a heart and you're open-minded and you've evolved as a human, there's no way something's not going to affect you because you have empathy.
And you know what? We have, I think it's the second or third largest Sikh Punjabi community outside of India in British Columbia. That's what I read. I read that we're the second or third largest population outside of Punjab to exist.
And you can just say Canada. Like, there's people in Winnipeg. I just saw huge amounts of traffic, and I had people there too. Calgary, Toronto. There's a big population, so there's no way
it's gonna affect.
Yeah, we're gonna feel it. Yeah,
it's whether you work with a coworker that's from that country or whatever the case is. Yes, right? Yeah, like it's we're not gonna not talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think the underbelly of this entire situation is just like Serena said, it's just something that's been coming for a while, and now you hear the roar, right? Historically, right, Punjab has always been a target for the Indian government.
Punjab hasn't supported the government. It's like, you know, when people try to Punjab has never supported the prime minister. So that gives you a little gist of why what's happening is happening.
Yeah, but why hasn't Punjab supported
the government?
The right? There's a reason why Punjab has been anti-Modi, anti the Indian government, is because they've always been treated like a target. They've always been, the state of Punjab has always been treated like a second-class citizen to India. And Punjab, people that are from that region are very prideful people. They're people that actually don't just give their ass up to anybody. If you know Punjabi people, that's not the case. Like, we're not gonna just like back down from injustice. It doesn't happen. Our blood is fueled with a lot of passion.
Warriors.
And exactly.
Yeah, right? We're warriors. We're not gonna downplay that shit. Like, we're warriors.
And we don't give in.
We've fought to keep it that way for a reason. We fought against the traditional push that the government might have been pushing onto Punjab for fucking decades. So that pushback is gonna cause the irritation. And
I'm so prideful that our people have never just given into a government. You know, it's so easy to give into a government and just say like, okay, like, you control us now. But our people have consistently stood up. And back in the day, like, Punjab actually was ruled by a kingdom, right? And the kingdom was what's the word? Dethroned or right? Dethroned by the Indian government in cahoots with the British government.
Yeah.
Right. I remember there was a movie that came out called The Black Prince, and this is when you might have heard about the Kohinoor of Punjab was actually taken from our land.
It's a diamond.
It's a diamond, and it's actually still in Buckingham Palace. And there's a whole story, there's a whole history behind that. And I think that was the first moment where the Punjab actually realized that the Indian government is not for them. They're actually there to help take them down, because Punjab was actually the state that had all the resources. It was the richest state in India at one point. It had all of the spices, it had all of the like the clothing, the fabrics, it had all of the food, it had all the jewelry. It was the richest state, the richest soil.
And if you know Punjabi culture, all those make sense. Like spices to the clothing to colorful, jewels and everything.
Everything, and music and culture is just Punjabi culture is so rich and so strong. And it was taken away from us back in the day. So if you can get a hold of the movie The Black Prince, watch it. It shares the history, and the kingdom was dethroned. Okay, 1947, partition happened. Okay, Punjab again was faced against a really big crisis. Families being ripped apart. All right, 1984. Right? There was a lot of shit that happened in 1984. There was
directly related to the government.
Directly related to the government. In retaliation, there was gunfire shot in our holy temple.
The Golden
Temple.
Yeah.
People were killed. Indira Gandhi. Right? Now, here we are in 2020. Now, mind you, in between those times, India lost their resources, right? All they have is all agriculture now. That's the last thing that they've not been able to take away from us. And our people are in poverty. Our people are dying of addictions, suicide. And the last thing that we're holding on to that's keeping us going through this is our faith, right? In our ability, our community, in our ability to still serve each other, to stay spiritual, to stay strong. And now the government comes in and takes in that last bit of livelihood. Instead of coming in and helping the people to get back on their feet, they're now stripping them of what little they actually have. But that's the crazy thing, is you can still strip people of what little they have, but the fact of the matter is their faith and their strength and their ability to fight has not been weakened or given up. You see the way that we have 14 million people have protested and marched to Delhi, to the I think it's the gate, right? And it just goes to show that it's so easy for our people to have given up and have been weak in that moment. But the faith is so strong within our people. The fight is so strong. That the whole world now feels it.
And like you said, the community is huge in Punjabi culture, and I feel like there was no way a farmer, even a single farmer that started it, there's no way another one wouldn't have joined them, because you feel the pain. If it's injustice, back to what Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is threat to justice everywhere. And that's kind of the approach that we end up taking hopefully as humans. We do that standing up with anything. This whole year, so much shit has happened. Hopefully you have spoken up. Hopefully you've just opened up your mind a bit. Hopefully you're not arguing in the comments as to why people are talking about something that's happening on the other side of the world.
Don't be that person.
Don't be that person. Educate yourself. Just Google some shit. You'll figure it out. You'll learn so much. And it may open your mind up to knowing that at the end of the day, it's injustice. And the fact that we're community-based, and that's what the fuck you see right now, literally communities on communities out into the largest, I don't even know what the number is, but I just know it's like millions. It's beyond 14 million at this point.
Yeah.
And
that was at the beginning. 14 million
that's the
people.
day they chose to walk. Yeah. So, and people joined along.
People.
Yeah. No, it's
and
that shows you community.
So many of those people are elderly. That's the crazy thing. It's like they still had that strength to fight for their livelihood that has given them joy for generations.
And because they've put in the work, there's no way they're gonna just give that shit up.
Even though it's so easy to.
Yes, and there's cases, like we said, there's been suicide. People have given up because it's fucking hard. It is.
But for those people, you gotta fight. And
exactly, and that's why we're together right now. That's why people are coming together, putting a hashtag, just throwing something in your stories. It's literally just educate yourself. Yes, there's something happening every month, and it feels like you could spread yourself thin, but I feel like at the end of the day, if it's injustice, just educate yourself. You don't have to you don't have to go, you don't have to just,
you don't have to
feel like you have to participate every single time. Just just educate yourself and open your mind and just be open to the fact that yes, pain anywhere in the world, hopefully you feel it to a certain point and have empathy of understanding where people come from.
That you make a really good point, Serena, because there's a lot of people that are saying like, speak up louder, and I agree that the more you speak up, the better. But if you're someone that is really overwhelmed with all things happening, the very least you could do is educate yourself on what somebody is posting, educate yourself on what someone is speaking up on, so that you're not that person adding those ignorant comments.
Yeah, you won't even get to that point because you'll know, okay, you know
and
what?
That in itself will be helpful.
Yeah, and if you are in the comments, you know what? There's more work. We're not even gonna pay no mind to that because you have some internal issues to deal with.
But there's sometimes like I see things that people post and I'm like, I'm not really into that, and I just move along.
Yeah. And earlier you were saying about the seva, which is pretty much seva is part of what we do in our temples, in what we pride. It's part of our community. It's literally what we're supposed to do. People come over to your house, literally seva. You're supposed to just.
They can't even walk it, like put their foot in the door without being given. Like if you ever come to a Punjabi household, you will never leave hungry.
Yeah, like it's that very much. It's very much. We gotta feed you. We're very giving people in that sense. And I have also heard, like, oh, the protesters, they're peaceful. They're getting splashed, they're getting barricaded and all that. There's gonna be violence because at the end of the day, this is government people out there.
People against people.
It's people against people, and that we've seen it. We've seen it here. We're gonna see it there. It's gonna happen. And then you see the true spirits because, yes, we're gonna go through pain, but you'll see the same people that are getting beat up actually feeding people just like the people that they beat up or get beat up by, because it's just in our nature. We're fighting for that land, yet whatever we brought along, we're gonna still feed you. And
not as like a fuck you, but as I can't actually sit back and eat without. There's no such thing as my enemy.
It's just it's like so engraved that that's just something you do. And
like even if you just tear gassed me an hour ago, if I'm eating now, if I'm eating, like I can't watch you not eat. You gotta eat too. Because you got to come back for me in an hour, right? Like we need to be able to do this in a way where they say kill you with kindness, but it's the literal sense of the word.
Literally, because there was a story.
I take back that comment with the tear gas.
I did hear a story where like an older man, he was literally splashed and fucking just water can, just beaten up, and then he was feeding just another police he was doing seva. Because they obviously brought along food, so they're not going to leave those people, even though it's just that just shows you. We could keep talking about this because of course it could be, there's so much more, but we want to pretty much say that we're with the farmers, we're with our people, we're going to keep educating ourselves, we're going to always speak up whenever there's something bullshit that's happening that's literally injustice and you see it. The least we can do is speak up, and the least we can do besides that is educate ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. We appreciate you guys listening to this episode, and I just want to leave you with one thing so that you have a little piece of education before you leave, is when you see the farmers' protests posts happening or people speaking about it, I'm just going to share the definition of some acronyms that you will see so that you know what's being said. For example, KISAAN. KISAAN is one thing that you probably, it's pretty much the name of the protest, right? That means farmer, land.
Land.
We say like Keistari, right? Like that's our
KISAAN is land,
KISAAN is land. Mandi, a marketplace system where farmers sell their produce to buyers, regulated by the MSP and facilitated by licensed middlemen. Okay. Sewa, like we were just talking about, it's spelled S-E-W-A, we say Seva. It's the act of selfless service, and bold on selfless.
AKA mostly feeding. It'll always be feeding.
Feeding.
We're going to feed you, like you said. You're not going to leave hungry.
An important concept in Sikhism. Dilli Chalo, that was the name of the march. So Chalo means let's go. So the name of the march was let's go to Delhi. But you'll see that hashtag a lot.
And Delhi is the capital of India.
And Delhi is the capital of India. MSP, it's the minimum support price. The price set for produce in the mandis to protect farmers from low prices. They want to take the MSP away, which is a big part of the issue.
Like we said,
privatization, the transfer of a business industry or service from public to private ownership and control.
Pretty much giving Walmart all the control and leaving any of the little guys to fucking feed themselves however they're gonna feed themselves. And that's just not right. It's just not right. And the least we can do, again, just speak up.
Couple of things to support this is, we want to leave you with that, is share, get educated. You could go to Sikh Expo. They post a lot of really good informative stuff. You can also go online to Khalsa Aid, because they will share things as well. Google, it's everywhere. And I would be careful though of some of the news websites, because a lot of their articles are kind of biased.
You're gonna see a lot of biasm from either one side or the other.
So go to, when you're Google searching, make sure you're going to a source that's either from a Punjabi resource or a Sikh resource to actually get the scope of what's happening. Because I've read some news reports that are like terrorism, and they're talking about people clogging up streets. It's gonna give you a negative view.
We're not gonna sit here and say that yes, every human is perfect. Yes, there may be some shit, because there's always something that goes wrong in a protest, especially if there's 14 fucking million people. But we're saying that we know the reasoning behind it, and we know majority of the people that are marching, we know the reasoning behind why they're doing it.
And the world.
That's not part of their agenda. They're going to figure out their own shit. They don't care about taking other people's shit while they're passing by, aka looting and things like that. That's what I'm speaking to. But
so do that, educate yourself, share, and then also if you want to donate, I donated to Khalsa Aid, which is actually it's an organization that goes not only to just the farmers protest, but Khalsa Aid actually supports the world in many different situations. They support, I think, like Red Cross. They do lots of world philanthropy. So donate to Khalsa Aid if you can.
Check out GoFundMe. There's also a family that has set it up. They're pretty much helping feed the families of the farmers that are out protesting. So you can go on there, literally type Punjabi farmers, and try to make sure that it looks legitimate, because I'm sure, again, there's always seeds out there trying to make, get something out of a tragic story. Be smart about where you're going, and even change.org, any signing and things like that. There's simple petitions. Things you can do. That's the simplest thing you can do.
We'll post the links of a couple places in the comments below. But yes, go for it. We hope you enjoy your week. And please, if you have a Punjabi friend even, or someone that you know, just support them.
And just educate
Don't
yourself.
come at them with, why do you care so much? This is happening in another country. Don't do that.
All right.
We
Thank
love
you so much, guys. All right, take care. Bye.